Captain Jinho stared at the massive shape floating in the darkness of space. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he could not look away from the view screen. The alien ship was enormous. It was 3 times the size of his salvage vessel. "Eternal Wanderer." "Captain, we are getting some strange readings from that thing," said Minho from the engineering station. His fingers danced across the control panel as data flowed across his screen. "The power signature is very weak, but it is still active after all this time." Yuna looked up from her medical station. Her dark eyes were filled with curiosity. "The bioscanners are picking up something unusual, sir. There appears to be one life form aboard that vessel." "Just one?" Jinho asked. He turned to face his crew. These 3 people had been with him for 5 years. They had salvaged dozens of derelict ships together, but none of those ships had been this large or this old. Hana pushed her long black hair behind her ear as she studied her xenobiology readings. "The life signs are very faint, Captain. Whatever is on that ship has been there for a very long time. The readings suggest the creature is large and has been in some kind of low-energy state." Jinho made his decision. "Minho, prep the boarding shuttle. Yuna, pack your medical kit. Hana, bring your xenobiology scanner. We are going aboard." "Sir, are you sure about this?" Minho asked. "Command told us to strip any valuable technology and leave. They did not mention anything about live aliens." "Command does not need to know about everything we find," Jinho replied. "Besides, if there is a survivor over there, we need to help." The boarding shuttle was small, but well-equipped. Jinho piloted it carefully toward the alien vessel. Up close, the ship was even more impressive. Its hull was dark red like dried blood. Strange symbols covered its surface. The metal looked organic somehow, as if it had been grown rather than built. "There." Hana pointed to a section of the hull. "That looks like an airlock." The docking was smooth. Jinho had been flying shuttles for 15 years. The alien airlock was different from human designs, but the basic principle was the same. After several minutes of careful work, the connection was secure. "Atmosphere is breathable," Yuna reported as she checked her instruments. "Oxygen levels are low, but we can manage without suits for a few hours." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond, it stretched a corridor that seemed to go on forever. The walls glowed with a soft amber light. The air smelled like incense and old metal. "Stay close," Jinho whispered. "We do not know what we are dealing with." Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. The ship felt ancient. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. Strange plants grew from cracks in the walls. They glowed with the same amber light as the corridor walls. "These plants are keeping the air fresh," Hana said as she scanned them with her device. "They have been growing here for centuries. This is incredible biotechnology." They walked for 20 minutes before they found the first large chamber. It was vast, like a cathedral. The ceiling disappeared into shadows above them. At the center of the room sat a creature that made all 4 humans stop and stare. It was huge. Even sitting down, it was taller than a human. Its body was covered in scales that shifted from deep red to gold in the amber light. It had 4 arms and a long tail. Its head was elongated with 2 large eyes that glowed like stars. Most impressive were the wings folded against its back. They were torn and scarred, but still magnificent. "A dragon," Hana whispered. "It looks like a dragon from old Earth stories." The creature opened its eyes and looked at them. When it spoke, its voice was like distant thunder. The words came through a translation device built into its throat. "Humans," it said. The word held surprise and something that might have been hope. "I did not expect to see humans in this part of space." Jinho stepped forward. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his voice steady. "I am Captain Jinho of the human salvage vessel Eternal Wanderer. We detected your ship and came to investigate." "Thuo?" Dragon tried to stand, but its legs would not support its weight. It settled back down with a sound like a sigh. "I am Kethvar of the Draconic Hegemony. I have been alone on this ship for 300 years." 300 years, Yuna said in shock. "How is that possible?" "My people lived for a very long time," Kethvar replied. "But that time has ended. I am the last of my kind." Hana moved closer with her scanner. What happened to your people? Kethvar closed his glowing eyes. A plague. Not a natural one. Our enemies created a weapon that made us unable to have children. One by one, my people died. I remained alive, hoping to find a cure, but I failed. You have been alone here all this time? Jinho asked. Yes. My ship, the Flame of Eternity, is dying slowly. The power systems fail a little more each year. Soon there will not be enough energy to keep me alive. I have accepted my fate. Minho was studying the chamber around them. Captain, this technology is amazing. The power distribution system, the biotechnology, the materials. This could change everything for humanity. Kethvar heard him and made a sound like bitter laughter. Take what you need, human. My knowledge dies, with me. My people achieved great things, but it means nothing now. Yuna stepped forward. Her medical instincts were stronger than her fear. May I examine you, Kethvar? Perhaps we can help. Help, the dragon repeated. No one can help me, human. The curse that destroyed my people cannot be broken. I have tried for 3 centuries. Jinho looked at his crew. He could see the same thought in all their eyes. They were salvagers. Their job was to take valuable things from dead ships, but this was different. This was not a dead ship. This was a living being who needed help. We are not going to abandon you, Jinho said firmly. My people do not leave others to die alone. Kethvar stared at him for a long moment. Something flickered in those glowing eyes. Something that had been dead for a very long time. Hope. Yuna approached Kethvar slowly with her medical scanner in hand. The device beeped softly as it analyzed the ancient dragon. His scales shimmered in the amber light that filled the vast chamber. Each scale was the size of her palm and looked harder than steel. This is fascinating, she said quietly to her team. His biological systems are completely different from anything we have studied, but the basic life functions are similar to mammals from Earth. Kethvar watched her work with tired eyes. You waste your time, human doctor. Many of my people tried to find answers to our curse. The greatest minds of our civilization failed. Tell us about this curse, Hana said as she set up her xenobiology equipment nearby. We need to understand what happened to your people. The dragon was quiet for several minutes. His breathing was slow and deep like the sound of wind through caves. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries of pain. We called them the Void Seekers. They came from the darkness between galaxies. Their ships were black as space itself. We fought them for 50 years before we realized their true weapon was not their guns or bombs. Jinho sat down on a piece of fallen stone to listen. Minho continued working on a nearby console, trying to understand the alien technology that kept the ship running. The Void Seekers released something into our worlds, Kethvar continued. It looked like silver dust that floated in our air and water. At first we thought it was harmless, then our children stopped being born. A bioweapon, Yuna said with horror in her voice. They attacked your ability to reproduce. Yes. The weapon changed something deep inside us. Our bodies could no longer create new life. The existing children grew up, but no new ones came. Within 200 years, my people began to die of old age with no young ones to replace them. Hana looked up from her scanner readings. The weapon is still active in your system. I can see traces of foreign proteins in your blood. They are preventing your reproductive cells from functioning properly. I was a genetic engineer before the plague, Kethvar said. I spent the last century of my people's lives trying to find a cure. I tried everything. Gene therapy, radiation treatment, even surgical removal of affected organs. Nothing worked. Minho spoke up from where he was working on the alien console. Captain, these power systems are incredible. They use some kind of biological energy conversion. The whole ship is alive in a way. My people grew our ships rather than building them, Kethvar explained. The Flame of Eternity was born from a single seed. It has been my companion for 4 centuries. Yuna finished her preliminary scans and sat back. Kethvar, I need to ask you something important. Did your people ever encounter other species that survived this type of bioweapon? No. The Void Seekers were thorough. Every species they attacked died out completely. We thought we might be the only ones to last as long as we did because of our long lives. But they are gone now, Jinho asked. The Void Seekers. Yes. They destroyed themselves in the end. Their own weapons turned on them somehow. But by then it was too late for my people. I am the only one left. Hana was studying the readings on her equipment with growing excitement. Captain, I am seeing something very interesting here. The bioweapon was designed specifically for draconic biology. It targets certain genetic markers that are unique to their species. What does that mean? Jinho asked. It means the weapon would not work on humans. Our biology is too different. But more importantly, I think we might be able to help. Kethvar raised his great head and looked at her with new interest. Explain. Human genetic medicine has advanced greatly in the past century. We have learned how to repair damaged genes and even create new ones. The bioweapon in your system is very sophisticated, but it was designed hundreds of years ago. Yuna nodded, as she looked at her own readings. The foreign proteins are breaking down slowly. Your body has been fighting them for centuries. If we could boost your immune system and introduce some human genetic material, we might be able to neutralize the weapon. Human genetic material, Kethvar repeated slowly. Compatibility genes, Hana explained. Humans have very adaptable DNA. We have markers that allow us to bond with other species genetically. It is part of what makes us good at surviving in different environments, Minho called out from across the chamber. Captain, you need to see this. I found something in the ship computer. They gathered around the alien console as Minho activated a holographic display. Images of dragons filled the air above them. Thousands of different individuals in many colors and sizes. They were shown in cities that looked like they had been grown from living crystal. This is a record of your people, Minho said to Kethvar. The ship has been maintaining a complete genetic and cultural database. Kethvar stared at the images with tears flowing from his glowing eyes. My family, my friends, all of them gone. Not gone, Hana said firmly. Preserved. This database contains everything about your species, their knowledge, their culture, their genetic patterns. This is incredible. What good does it do? Kethvar asked bitterly. I cannot bring them back. Maybe not exactly, Yuna said thoughtfully, but human technology might allow us to create something new. Something that carries on your people's legacy. Jinho stood up and faced the ancient dragon. Kethvar, my people have a saying. While there is life, there is hope. You are still alive. Your people's knowledge is still here. That means there is still a chance. You really think you can help me? Kethvar asked. We can try, Jinho replied. That is all anyone can do. But humans are very good at finding new solutions to old problems. Kethvar was quiet for a long time. The amber light in the chamber seemed to pulse with his breathing. Finally, he spoke. What would you need from me? Your trust, Yuna said simply. And your willingness to try something that has never been done before. The dragon looked at each of them in turn. 4 humans who had stumbled into his tomb and offered him something he thought was impossible. A future. Captain Jinho received the angry message from command 3 days after they had boarded Kethvar's ship. The holographic image of Admiral Sungho flickered with poor signal quality, but his anger came through clearly. Captain Jinho, you were ordered to salvage technology and return immediately. Your ship has been stationary for 72 hours. Explain your delay. Jinho looked at his crew gathered around him in the Eternal Wanderer's main cabin. They had spent 3 days traveling back and forth between the ships, studying Kethvar and his technology. The dragon had grown stronger with the medical care Yuna provided, but the real breakthrough had come from Hana's research. Admiral, we have encountered a unique situation that requires careful handling, Jinho replied to the transmission. Situation. You found a derelict ship, Captain. Strip anything valuable and return to base. Those are your orders. Sir, the ship is not derelict. It contains a living alien and a vast database of advanced technology. This could change everything for humanity. The Admiral's face grew red with anger. I do not care if you found the answer to faster-than-light travel, Captain. You have your orders. Implement them now, or face court-martial. The transmission ended, leaving silence in the cabin. Minho shook his head in frustration. Command does not understand what we have found here. They understand, Jinho said quietly. They just do not care about one alien's life when there is technology to steal. Yuna stood up from her chair. Captain, we cannot abandon Kethvar. I have been studying the bioweapon in his system. With our genetic engineering techniques, we might actually be able to help him. How? Jinho asked. Hana activated her portable computer and showed them detailed genetic scans. Human DNA has something called compatibility markers. These allow us to bond genetically with other species under the right conditions. We evolved this trait because humans had to adapt to many different environments as we spread across Earth. You are talking about creating human-dragon hybrids, Minho said in amazement. Not exactly hybrids in the traditional sense, Hana explained. More like genetic partnerships. The human genes would provide what the dragon genes cannot do anymore. They would work together to create viable offspring. Jinho studied the data on the screen. Have we ever done anything like this before? No, Yuna admitted. But the theory is sound. Human genetic medicine has advanced far beyond what most species achieve. We have learned to edit genes, repair damage, and even create entirely new genetic sequences. What would Kethvar think about this? Jinho asked. We should ask him, Hana said. They returned to the Flame of Eternity to find Kethvar examining the organic systems that grew along the corridor. Walls. The amber light seemed brighter today and the dragon moved with more energy than before. Your medical treatments are helping, he told Yuna as they approached. I feel stronger than I have in decades. Kethvar, we need to discuss something important. With you, Jinho said. Our scientists think they might have found a way to continue your people's legacy. The dragon turned his glowing eyes toward them. Continue how? Hana stepped forward with her computer. By combining human and draconic genetic material to create offspring that carry both species' traits. The children would not be fully dragon, but they would carry your memories, knowledge, and cultural heritage. Kethvar was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was troubled. You ask me to pollute my bloodline with alien genes. We ask you to save your bloodline with human partnership, Yuna replied gently. Your people believed in racial purity, but what good did that do when the bioweapon came? Sometimes survival requires change. My ancestors would call this an abomination, Kethvar said. Your ancestors are dead, Minho said bluntly. You are alive. You get to decide what your people's future looks like. Kethvar moved to a large window that looked out into space. The stars were distant points of light in the darkness. I have spent 3 centuries alone thinking about this moment. The moment when I would have to choose between death with honor or survival with compromise. This is not compromise, Hana said. This is evolution. Your people were great scientists and engineers. They would understand that adaptation is necessary for survival. What exactly are you proposing? Kethvar asked. A genetic bonding process, Yuna explained. One of us would volunteer to merge genetic material with you. The process would also require neural bonding to transfer your memories and knowledge to the offspring. Neural bonding, Kethvar repeated. That means sharing consciousness directly. Yes. It is the only way to ensure that your cultural knowledge survives along with your genetic material. Kethvar turned back to face them. Which human would volunteer for this? I will, Hana said without hesitation. I am a xenobiologist. I have spent my career studying alien life forms. This would be the ultimate research project. You could die, Kethvar warned. Neural bonding between different species has never been attempted. The process could destroy your mind. Or it could create something amazing, Hana replied. New forms of intelligence that combine the best of both our species. Jinho put his hand on Hana's shoulder. Are you sure about this? I am sure, she said. Kethvar deserves a chance to continue his people's legacy. Humanity deserves to learn from the greatest genetic engineers in known space. This is bigger than any of us. Kethvar studied her for several minutes. You would risk your life for someone you met 3 days ago. That is what humans do, Jinho said proudly. We help others even when it costs us something. Even when command orders us not to, Minho added. You would defy your own people to help me, Kethvar asked in wonder. Our people will understand eventually, Yuna said, when they see what we can accomplish together. Kethvar closed his eyes and was quiet for a long time. The ship hummed around them with organic energy. Finally, the ancient dragon opened his glowing eyes and looked at each human in turn. I accept your offer, he said. Let us create something new together. Hana lay on the bioorganic platform that Kethvar had grown from his ship's living systems. The surface felt warm and alive beneath her back. Strange vines with glowing flowers surrounded the platform, connecting her to monitoring devices that pulsed with amber light. Are you ready? Yuna asked as she checked the medical readings one final time. Your heart rate is elevated, but that is normal for this situation. I am as ready as anyone can be for something that has never been tried before, Hana replied. She tried to keep her voice steady, but Jinho could hear the nervousness underneath. Kethvar positioned himself on a larger platform beside her. The dragon's massive form dwarfed the human woman, but his movements were gentle and careful. Neural connection cables grew from the ship's walls and attached themselves to contact points on both their heads. The bonding process will happen in stages, Kethvar explained. First, our minds will touch lightly. You will experience some of my surface memories. If that goes well, we will go deeper until our consciousness merge completely. Minho monitored the energy systems from a control panel that had grown from the floor. Power levels are stable. The ship's biological systems are responding well to the dual connection. What will it feel like? Hana asked. Like drowning and flying at the same time, Kethvar said. You will experience centuries of memories in minutes. The knowledge of my people will flow into your mind, but you must also share your human experiences with me. I understand. Yuna gave Hana an injection to help her nervous system handle the neural load. This will reduce the chance of brain damage, but I cannot eliminate the risk completely. Jinho stood beside the platform looking worried. Hana, if anything goes wrong, we will pull you out immediately. No, she said firmly. If we stop the process, halfway it could damage both our minds permanently. Once we start, we have to see it through to the end. Kethvar activated the neural connection, and immediately Hana gasped. Her eyes rolled back as alien thoughts flooded her mind. She saw vast cities of living crystal where dragons soared between towers that grew like trees. She felt the joy of scientific discovery as draconic researchers unlocked the secrets of genetic engineering. Initial connection established, Minho reported. Both subjects are stable. The memories came faster now. Hana experienced the horror of the Void Seeker invasion. She felt Kethvar's desperation as he watched his people sicken and die. She shared his loneliness during the long centuries alone on his dying ship. But Kethvar was also experiencing her memories. Through her eyes, he saw Earth's blue oceans and green forests. He felt human emotions that were foreign to his logical dragon mind. Wonder, curiosity, compassion, and the fierce human drive to protect others. Something is happening, Yuna said as she watched the biomonitors. Their brain patterns are synchronizing in ways I have never seen before. Hana began to speak, but her voice carried harmonics that sounded like Kethvar's deeper tones. The merger is deeper than expected. Human neural plasticity is allowing connections that should not be possible. Is that good or bad? Jinho asked. Unknown, came the dual voice response. We are creating something entirely new. The process continued. For hours. Hana's body remained still, but her mind traveled through centuries of dragon history. She learned the secrets of biotechnology that could grow starships from seeds. She understood genetic engineering techniques that could create life forms adapted to any environment. Meanwhile, Kethvar experienced human creativity and adaptability in ways that amazed him. Where dragon thought was logical and methodical, human thought was chaotic and intuitive. Where dragons planned carefully, humans leaped boldly into the unknown. The genetic bonding is beginning, Yuna announced as new readings appeared on her screens. I am detecting new cellular structures forming in both subjects. The bioorganic platform began to glow brighter. Genetic material flowed through the living conduits that connected Hana and Kethvar. Human DNA merged with dragon genetics, creating combinations that had never existed before. Pain, Hana whispered, as her body began to change. Her skin took on a faint scaled pattern that gleamed. In the amber light, her eyes began to glow with the same inner fire as Kethvar's. The dragon was also changing. His scales became more flexible and his thoughts more fluid. The rigid mental patterns of his species softened as human creativity merged with dragon logic. We need to prepare the gestational chamber, Kethvar said through their shared voice. The offspring will need a controlled environment to develop properly. Minho watched in amazement as the ship began growing a new chamber from its living walls. The organic technology responded to Kethvar's mental commands, creating exactly what was needed for the hybrid offspring. How many offspring will there be? Jinho asked. 3. Hana replied with knowledge that was not originally hers. Each will have different combinations of human and dragon traits. They will be able to reproduce with each other, ensuring the continuation of the genetic line. The bonding process reached its climax as their consciousness merged completely. For several minutes, Hana and Kethvar shared a single mind that contained both their complete memories and personalities. The experience was overwhelming but also beautiful. When they finally separated, both had been fundamentally changed. Hana retained much of Kethvar's knowledge and gained enhanced intelligence and longer lifespan. Kethvar had absorbed human creativity and emotional depth that enriched his ancient mind. It is done, they said in unison as the neural connections withdrew. The offspring are developing. Yuna checked their vital signs and found both subjects stable, but profoundly altered. Hana, how do you feel? Different, she replied. I can see connections between things that I never noticed before. I understand biotechnology in ways that will take human science centuries to discover naturally. Kethvar slowly sat up on his platform. And I feel hope again for the first time in 300 years. These human emotions are strange, but not unpleasant. Jinho looked at the growing chamber where their hybrid offspring were beginning to form. What have we created? The future, Hana said with a smile that held both human warmth and dragon wisdom. We have created the future. The chamber pulsed with new life as 3 unique beings began their development. They would be neither fully human nor fully dragon, but something entirely new. Something that carried the best qualities of both species, and, for the first time in centuries, Kethvar was no longer alone. The gestational chamber had grown into something beautiful over the past 3 months. It looked like a giant flower made of living crystal that pulsed with warm golden light. Inside the translucent walls, 3 forms could be seen developing, slowly. Hana stood beside the chamber every day watching the hybrid offspring grow. Her appearance had stabilized after the bonding process. Her skin had a subtle scaled pattern that caught the light, and her eyes glowed softly in the dark. But she was still recognizably human. They are almost ready, Kethvar said as he joined her. The ancient dragon had also changed. His movements were more fluid, and his expression showed emotions that dragons rarely displayed before the bonding. Yuna approached with her latest medical readings. The development process is unlike anything in human or dragon biology. They are growing much faster than normal, but also more completely. Their neural development is especially advanced. That is because they carry both species' memories in their genetic structure, Hana explained. They will be born with basic knowledge already in place. Jinho had spent the last months dealing with increasingly angry messages from command. Admiral Sungho had threatened court-martial and even sent 2 ships to force their return. But those ships had turned back when their crews saw what the humans had accomplished. Captain, we are receiving another transmission, Minho announced from the communication station he had set up in the chamber. This time, the holographic image showed not just Admiral Sungho, but several other high-ranking officials. Their expressions ranged from anger to curiosity. "Captain Jinho, you have defied direct orders for 3 months. However, our scientists have been studying your reports. The implications of human-dragon genetic bonding are too important to ignore. Admiral, we have created something unprecedented here," Jinho replied. "These hybrid offspring could change the future of both our species. That is why we are sending a full research team to your location. Do not interfere with their work." The transmission ended, but Jinho was not worried about command anymore. What they had accomplished here was bigger than military orders or human politics. The chamber began to pulse faster and brighter. "It is time," Kethvar announced. "They are ready to emerge." The crystal walls of the chamber slowly opened like flower petals. 3 beings stepped out into the amber light of the ship's interior. They were clearly the offspring of both human and dragon heritage, but each was unique. The first to emerge was obviously the leader. Hana and Kethvar had decided to call him Taeyong. He was human-sized, but with functional wings and scales that shifted color with his emotions. His face was human, but his eyes held the ancient wisdom of dragons. "Hello," he said in a voice that carried harmonics of both species. "I am Taeyong. Thank you for giving us life." The second offspring was smaller and more human-appearing, but with enhanced strength and intelligence. They called her Jiwan. Her scales were barely visible and her wings were vestigial, but her mind was incredibly powerful. The third was the most dragon-like, with an elongated skull and larger wings. He chose the name Hyunwoo, and his intelligence was focused on biotechnology and engineering like his dragon ancestors. "We carry the memories of both peoples," Jiwan said as she looked around the chamber. "We know what humans have sacrificed and what dragons have lost. And we know what we must do to honor both legacies," Hyunwoo added. His voice was deeper and more resonant than his siblings. Yuna scanned all 3 hybrids with her medical equipment. Their biology is stable and self-sustaining. They show enhanced capabilities in multiple areas, including intelligence, longevity, and physical abilities. More importantly, they can reproduce, Kethvar said with joy in his voice. The genetic line will continue, but their celebration was interrupted by alarms from the Eternal Wanderer. Minho checked his readings and looked worried. "Captain, we have multiple ships approaching, not human vessels." Jinho activated the external sensors and saw 6 alien ships of unknown design moving toward them. They were sleek and dark with energy, signatures unlike anything in human databases. "Who are they?" Yuna asked. Taeyong closed his eyes and accessed memories inherited from Kethvar. Kreshtai Empire. They are scavengers who follow the trails of dead civilizations. They must have detected the energy signature from our bonding process. "Are they hostile?" Jinho asked. "Very," Hyunwoo replied. "They will want to capture us for study and take our technology for their own use." The alien ships opened fire without warning. Energy beams struck the flame of eternity, but the living ship's bio-armor absorbed most of the damage. However, Jinho could see that the ancient vessel would not survive a prolonged attack. "We need to get everyone to safety," he said. "No," Kethvar replied firmly. "This ship has been my home for centuries. I will not abandon it now." "Then we fight," Taeyong said. His scales shifted to a deep red color that matched his emotional state. "We have the knowledge of both species. We can defend ourselves." Jiwan moved to a bioorganic control panel and interfaced directly with the ship's systems. "The weapons are still functional, but power levels are low. I can help with that," Minho said as he connected his engineering equipment to the alien systems. Human and dragon technology began working together in ways neither species had imagined alone. The hybrid offspring proved their worth immediately. Taeyong coordinated the ship's defenses with tactical skill inherited from both species. Jiwan enhanced the bioorganic systems with human engineering techniques. Hyunwoo began growing new defensive structures from the ship's living hull. The Dio battle was brief but intense. The flame of eternity fought with renewed vigor as human adaptability merged with dragon biotechnology. The attacking ships were surprised by the unexpected resistance and eventually withdrew. "They will return with more ships," Kethvar warned. We cannot stay here. Then we leave, Jinho said. All of us together. Where can we go? Hana asked. Human space will want to study us. Alien empires will want to capture us. Taeyong smiled, with an expression that was both human and dragon. We go somewhere new. We find an empty world and build something that belongs to neither species but to both. A colony, Yuna said with growing excitement. A place where humans and hybrids can live together and learn from each other. The beginning of a new civilization, Kethvar added. One that carries the best of both our peoples into the future. The Siu, eternal wanderer and the flame of eternity, departed together heading for unexplored space where they could build something unprecedented. Behind them they left the wreckage of the Kreshtai ships and the old ideas about what was possible. Ahead of them lay infinite possibilities for cooperation between species that had chosen adaptation over extinction. 5 years had passed since the colony ship landed on the planet they named Harmony. The world was perfect for their needs with vast oceans, clean air, and continents ready for settlement. Most importantly, it was far from the major space lanes, where hostile aliens might find them. Kethvar stood on the observation deck of New Flame Tower watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and amber. The tower was a perfect blend of human engineering and dragon biotechnology. It had been grown rather than built, but its structure followed human architectural principles. Below him, the colony spread across the coastal plains. Human-style buildings stood beside organic dragon structures. Gardens grew in geometric human patterns next to the flowing curves favored by dragon designers. It was a place that belonged fully to neither species but completely to both. Grandfather, you should come see this, called a young voice from behind him. Kethvar turned to see a small child running toward him on legs that moved with inhuman grace. This was Minji, the daughter of Taeyong, and a human colonist named Yunji. She was the first of the second-generation hybrids and showed traits that amazed everyone who met her. What is it, young one? Kethvar asked as he knelt down to her level. Minji held up a flower that glowed with soft blue light. I made this grow in the lab. Miss Yuna says it is impossible, but I did it anyway. Kethvar examined the flower with wonder. The child had somehow combined human plant genetics with dragon bioluminescence to create something entirely new. You have your father's talent for biotechnology. And my mother's stubbornness, Minji added with a grin that was purely human. They were joined by Jinho, who looked older but happier than he had 5 years ago. His hair was now gray, but his eyes held the satisfaction of someone who had accomplished something important. Kethvar, the council meeting is starting soon. We need your input on the expansion plans. The council was another hybrid creation that combined human democratic principles with dragon advisory traditions. Representatives from both species and the hybrid offspring worked together to guide the colony's development. As they walked toward the council chambers, Kethvar reflected on how much had changed. He was no longer the last of his kind mourning a dead civilization. He was an elder in a growing community that honored both his heritage and human values. The council chamber was filled with the sound of multiple languages. Humans spoke in their various dialects while hybrids communicated in the musical tones they had developed. Dragon biotechnology provided universal translation, so everyone could understand each other. The agricultural reports show excellent progress, announced Soyoung, a human engineer who had arrived with the second wave of colonists. The hybrid crops are producing yields 30% higher than either human or dragon varieties alone. Taeyong stood to address the council. He had grown into his leadership role naturally combining human charisma with dragon wisdom. The success of our crops proves that cooperation produces better results than either species could achieve alone. Jiwon presented the education statistics. Our children are learning faster and more completely than any previous generation. Human creativity combined with dragon memory techniques is revolutionizing how we pass on knowledge. But it was Hyunwoo who brought the most exciting news. Our deep space sensors have detected something remarkable. We are not the only successful human dragon colony. The chamber fell silent as he activated a holographic display. 3 other colony ships have reported successful hybrid populations. Word of our achievements is spreading throughout human space. More importantly, Hana added as she joined the presentation, we have received contact requests from other alien species. They want to learn about our cooperative methods. Kethvar listened with growing amazement. What had started as a desperate attempt to save one dying dragon had become a movement that was changing the galaxy. There is something else, Jinho announced. Command has officially recognized our colony and requested that we serve as humanity's first interspecies diplomatic center. They want us to help other species learn cooperation, Yuna explained. Apparently our success has impressed even the most stubborn human officials. After the meeting, Kethvar walked through the colony's residential areas. He passed human families and hybrid households living side by side. Children of both species played together in parks that bloomed with impossible combinations of earth and dragon flora. He stopped at the memorial garden where crystalline monuments honored both human and dragon heritage. The names of his fallen people were inscribed alongside human heroes who had died exploring the galaxy. It was a place of remembrance, but also of hope. You did it, old friend, he whispered to the monument dedicated to his species. You found a way to continue our legacy. No, we did it, said a voice behind him. Kethvar turned to find Hana approaching with her own children. Her daughter Nari had wings like a dragon, but human curiosity. Her son Jeonghwan had scales that changed color with his emotions, but a human love of music. Your people and mine together, Hana continued. Neither of us could have accomplished this alone. Sometimes I wonder what my ancestors would think of all this, Kethvar mused. They would be proud, Nari said with the confidence of youth. You saved their knowledge and their values. You just did it in a new way. As night fell over the colony, bioluminescent plants began to glow throughout the settlement. It was a sight that would have been impossible without the combination of human engineering and dragon biotechnology. Kethvar made his way back to his quarters in the tower. His rooms were designed in the dragon style with organic curves and living walls, but they also contained human furniture and books because he had learned to appreciate both ways of living. He settled onto his sleeping platform and accessed the ship's database that still contained the complete records of his people. But now those records were not just memories of the dead. They were the foundation for a living, growing civilization. Through his window, he could see the lights of human homes and the glow of dragon biotechnology. Children who carried both heritages would grow up in this place and spread throughout the galaxy, carrying the message that cooperation was stronger than conflict. The old dragon closed his glowing eyes and smiled. For the first time in 4 centuries, he was not the last of his kind. He was the first of something new and wonderful. His people had not died out. They had evolved into something greater than anyone had imagined possible. And it had all started with 4 humans who refused to abandon someone in need. The galaxy would never be the same.